The question says write 43.0786 to correct to 3 decimal places. So first we need to identify what the third decimal place is. Third decimal place is at 8. So we round 8 based on the number which is in the fourth decimal place, which is 6. Now since 6 is 5 and above, that means we will round 8 up. So when we round 8 up, that's going to be 43.079. So that's how you round numbers. Then it says at midnight, the temperature is -7 degrees Celsius. At 11 a.m., the next temperature is 12 degrees Celsius. Find the increase in temperature from midnight to 11 a.m. So we're trying to find the difference between both the temperatures. So the final temperature, which is 12 degrees Celsius, minus the starting temperature, which is -7. So that's 12 plus 7, and that's 19. So that's your answer. Then it says write these numbers in order of size, starting with the smallest. So for these type of questions where they've given us different numbers in different forms, some in decimals, some in fractions, some in percentages. So in this, what I always advise my students is that convert them into one format and then compare them. It's best that you convert them into percentages because that's the easiest to solve. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to convert 2/3 into percentage. So for that, we times the fraction by 100. That's going to be 200/3. Then we divide this. So 200 divided by 3. We know that 3/6 is 18. Remainder 2. Then again, bring the 0 down. 3 times 6 is again 18. So as we can see, it's a recurring decimal after this because again we add a 0, then 6, 6, 6, and so on. So 2/3 is 66.6 recurring percent. 66% is already given as a percentage. 0.6 we multiplied by 100 again. That's 60%. Remember, when you're multiplying by 100, you're moving the decimal 2 places to the right side. If you were dividing by 100, you would move the decimal 2 places to the left side. 16/25, again, times by 100. So, 100 divided by 25 is 4. So 16 times 4 is going to give us 64. So 16 times 4 is going to give us 64%. And lastly, 0.606 times 100. Move the decimal 2 places to the right. So that's 60.6%. Okay, now that we converted all of the numbers into percentages, now we see which one is the smallest. So it's quite evident that 0.6, which equals to 60%, that's the smallest. So 0.6 comes first. Then we have 60.6%, so 0.606. Then after that, we have 64%, so that's 16/25. Then we have 66%. And lastly, 2/3. So remember, always convert them into the same format, either the decimals, fractions, percentages, and then compare them. Don't start comparing them in the format that they've already given, especially if it's the different format. Then it says simplify t to the power 4 times t cubed over t to the power of 10. So this is a part of rules of indices. In rules of indices, if you're multiplying the same base over here is t, and the power is 4, 3, and 10, as you can see. So if you're multiplying the same base, you add the powers. If you're dividing the same base, you subtract the powers. So first in the numerator, we're going to add the powers. Base will remain the same, which is t. So that gives us t to the power of 7 over t to the power of 10. And now, since the bases are being divided, we subtract the powers. So that's t to the power of -3. Your answer can be written as a negative index, which is t to the power of -3, or you can write it as a positive index 1 over t cubed. Both are correct. Then it says simplify square root 6 whole square. So remember, when there's a power outside the bracket and inside the bracket, you multiply the powers, which is another rule of indices. So square root basically represents the power of 1 over 2. So it's 6 to the power of 1 over 2 whole power 2. So we multiply the powers, and as you can see, 1 over 2 times 2 is 1. So your answer is 6. You don't write 6 to the power of 1 because that is 6. So 6 is your answer. And remember, whenever you're multiplying like opposites, like for example, the opposite of a square root is a square. So when you multiply those two powers, that will always equal to 1. Similarly, a cube root times cube is also 1. A fourth root times power of 4 also equals to 1. So these are tiny little tricks that you need to keep in mind and to save time while you're solving such questions. Then it says a group of people are asked what type of holiday they prefer. The table gives information about the results. So we have camping, beach, cruise, and hiking. And then we have the number of people for each type of holiday. And then the pie chart angle. So they've already given us the pie chart angle for camping, which is 60 degrees. And they're asking us to complete the table. So for you to figure out what the angle is for each category, what we do is first create a fraction for the type of holiday. So for camping, we have 15 people, and the total number of people are not given. But can we find it? Yes, we can. We will add the number of people given over here, and that will give us the total number of people. So total would be 15 plus 45 plus 20 plus 10. So 15 plus 45 is 60. 60 plus 30 is 90. So camping would be 15 over 90 times 360. The reason why we're multiplying by 360 is because the pie chart is a circle. So the entire angle for the full circle is 360. So 15 over 90 times 360 gives us the angle that is allotted to camping. So 360 divided by 90, we can first cancel out the zeros. And 9 ones are 9, and 9 fours are 36. So then we do 15 times 4, which is going to be 60. So 60 degrees for camping. So similarly, you find the angles for beach, cruise, and hiking. So for beach, it's going to be 45 over 90 times 360. We know that the zero would get cancelled out. We know the zero would get cancelled out as it did for camping. 9 ones are 9. This is 4. So then we do 45 times 4, which is going to be 180. Then for cruise, 20 over 90 times 360. So this is 1, this is 4. 20 times 4 is 80 degrees. And lastly, for hiking, that's 10 over 90 times 360. So that's 10 times 4, and that's 40 degrees. So these are your angles for each of the types of holidays. Now in the next part, we have to complete the pie chart and show all of this information. So they've already made the sector for camping. So we know that beach was 180 degrees. So you can easily draw a 180-degree line like this. This is beach. Apart from that, we had hiking and cruise. Cruise was 80 and hiking was 40. So for 180, I can easily tell because you just draw a straight line like this. But like for the other angles, you have to use a protractor. So you'll put your protractor over here, mark where the 20-degree comes. So you'll put a protractor over here and mark where the 80-degree comes and the 40 degrees. And then you will be able to correctly identify the angles for the different types of holidays. So 40 degrees and actually no. So this would be 40 degrees and this would be 80 degrees. But remember, you have to use a protractor to draw the pie chart. You can't guess the angles. You can't just freehand draw it and assume that, oh, this would be that angle, this would be that. They will not give you full marks. It needs to be accurate. So use a protractor, correctly mark the angles, measure them, and then assign the region to each type of holiday given the question. Then it says a laptop costs $800. In a sale, the cost is reduced by 15%. Work out the cost of the laptop in the sale. So if the cost is reduced by 15%, that means that we're paying 85%. So we do 85 over 100 times 800. Now we can see that there are 2 zeros in the numerator, 2 in the denominator. So you cancel the zeros out. So that makes your calculation simpler. Just have to do 85 times 8. So for 85 times 8, we know 5 8s are 40. Carry the 4. 8 8s are 64 plus 4, 680. So you're paying $680 after the 15% reduction. Alternate method is that you find 15% of 800 first, and then you subtract that from 800 to get the answer. So basically, 15 over 100 times 800, which would be 15 times 8, and that's 120. And then you do 800 minus 120 to find the new price, which is 680. Both ways you get the same answer, but you choose the method that's less time consuming for you and you understand better. Then it says that work out 304 plus 506. So as you can see, we're adding fractions with unlike denominators. And whenever we're adding fractions with unlike denominator, the first rule is to make the denominators same. So we can find the lowest common multiple of 4 and 6, which is 12. So to convert 4 and 6 into 12, we need to multiply the second fraction by 2 and the first fraction by 3. As you can see, both the numerator and denominators are getting multiplied by 3 and 2, not just denominator. So 3 times 3 over 4 times 3 plus 5 times 2 over 6 times 2. So that's going to be 9 over 12 plus 10 over 12. Now that the denominators are same, we can add the numerators. So 9 plus 10 over 12, and that's 19 over 12. Going back to the question, they want the answer as a mixed number in its simplest form. So right now we have this improper fraction. Improper fractions are fractions where the numerator is bigger than the denominator. So to convert this into a mixed number, we will divide 19 by 12. Now we know 19 doesn't come in the 12 times table. But what is a number that's directly less than 19 that comes in the 12 times table? It's 12 itself. So we know 1 times 12 is 12 and 19 minus 12 is 7. So this quotient will always be your whole number. Remainder is your numerator. And denominator remains the same, it is 12. So it's going to be one whole number, 7 over 12. That is your answer as a mixed number in its simplest form. Then it says Sophia walks at an average speed of 4 kilometers per hour. Work out the time Sophia takes to walk 13 kilometers. So 4 kilometers are covered in 1 hour. That's what 4 kilometers per hour means, that you're covering 4 kilometers in 1 hour. We need to figure out how much time she takes to cover 13 kilometers. So let's find for 1 kilometer first. So for 1 kilometer is going to be 104 hours, which basically is equal to 15 minutes as well, because 1 hour is 60 minutes. Half hour is 30 minutes. So quarter hour would be 15 minutes. Now, for 13 kilometers, we will do 15 times 13. So for 15 times 13, 5 threes are 15, carry the 1, 3 ones are 3 plus 1, 4. Add a placeholder, 5 ones are 5, 1 ones are 1, add it up, 5, 9, 1. So that's basically 195 minutes. Now they want the answer in hours and minutes. So we know that 1 hour is 60 minutes. 2 hours would be 120 minutes. 3 hours would be 180 minutes. So if we take away 180 minutes from this, that's 3 hours. And 195 minus 180 gives us 15 minutes. So that's 3 hours and 15 minutes. That's your answer. Then it says a sequence of patterns made using crosses and circles. Draw pattern 4. So we can see that as we're moving from one pattern to the other, we're adding another row and another column for the circles. And for the crosses, we're just adding the cross based on the new column or row added. So over here now we have pattern 3 has 3 rows and 4 columns. So pattern 4 will have 4 rows and 5 columns for the circles. So 1, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Now for the crosses, we just add them around the boundary. So that's your 4th pattern. So now number of crosses for 4 and 5. So now it says complete the table for pattern 4 and pattern 5. So as we can see for the number of crosses, they're adding 2. So this would be 10 and this would be 12. For the number of circles, it starts with 2, then it's 6, then it's 12. So for 4, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 times 5, that's 20. And then for pattern 5, it will be 5 rows and 6 columns. So that's going to be 30. So just based on your number of columns and rows for the circles, you find those and then you just multiply the 2 to get the number of circles instead of you making the pattern and then counting all of the circles. So this is the expression for the number of crosses in pattern n is 2n plus 2. Find the number of crosses in pattern 35. So they've already given us the expression for the nth term. All they want us to do is substitute n equals to 35 in the expression to find the number of crosses. So 2 times 35 plus 2. That is 70 plus 2, which is 72. Then find an expression in terms of n for the number of circles in pattern n. So for the number of circles in pattern n, we know that we had 2, 6, 12, 20, and 30. Now, whenever we're trying to find the nth term, we have to figure out what the common difference is. So let's find the difference between each term. 6 minus 2 is 4. 12 minus 6 is 6. 20 minus 12 is 8. 30 minus 20 is 10. As we can see, there's no common difference. So that means we have to find the second difference now. This was your first difference. For second difference, 6 minus 4, 2. 8 minus 6, 2. 10 minus 8, 2. That is your second difference. As we can see, the second difference is common of the first difference. That means it's a quadratic sequence. Whenever the first difference is common, that's a linear sequence. If the second difference is common, that's a quadratic sequence. If the third difference is common, that's a cubic sequence, and so on. So we assume that our nth term is n squared. That's the first thing I'm going to assume. Now, if we use that for the number of circles, if we use for the first pattern, 1 square would give us 1, not 2. And second term, 2 square would give us 4, not 6. So what can we do to turn these into 2 and 6? If I add 1 to this, 1 plus 1 would give us 2, but 4 plus 1 will not give us 6. It's going to give us 5. But if I add the pattern n to this, so then 1 plus 1, 4 plus 2. Because we're adding the pattern number to it, we're not adding any random number. So now let's use that. So if you try to find the third one, that's going to be 3 square plus 3. 9 plus 3, and that is 12. So as you can see, this works for all patterns. That means our nth term is going to be n squared plus n. That is your answer. For these type of questions, like you have to start with like the basic, term like either n or n squared, depending on what your sequence is. And then you manipulate it based on the given numbers in the pattern and see what works for each pattern. Question 10 says the scale drawing shows a field A, B, C, D, E. The field contains a stage that is sector of a circle, center is C. The scale is 1 centimeter to 2.5 meters. Find the actual radius of the stage. So what you will do is you will measure your distance over here, because this is the stage and that is the radius of the stage. And then whatever that distance is, you will multiply that by 2.5, because 1 centimeter equals to 2.5 meters. And the distance you will measure for the radius using the ruler, that's going to be in centimeters. So you multiply that distance by 2.5 and that would give you the actual distance. So multiply the measured distance by 2.5. So this will help you in finding the actual distance of so this will help you in finding the radius of the stage. So this will help you find the actual radius of the stage. Then it says the rest of the field is split into two zones, zone 1 and zone 2. Zone 1 and zone 2 do not include the stage. This is the region that is nearer to EA than to E. Zone 1 is the region that is nearer to EA than to ED. Using compass and a straight edge only, construct the boundary between zone 1 and zone 2, and then shade the region that represents zone 1. The field is so since the common part over here is E between EA and ED, what you will do is you will draw an angle bisector at point E, and then you will divide zone 1 and zone 2 using that angle bisector. Zone 1 is the region that is nearer to EA, so obviously zone 1 is going to be on this side and zone 2 is going to be on that side. For the angle bisector, what you do is you first measure the angle at E. Once you've measured that angle now, what you do is you open your compass to a specific length that's, within ED and EA. So once you've opened the compass to that length, what you do is you put it at E and then you draw an arc on EA and ED. Okay. Once you've done that, then you, using the same distance at which the compass is open, you put that on the points where the arcs have been drawn, like over here and here. And then you draw another arc from these 2 points. So one will come over here and the other will come over here. So you'll have 4 arcs in total when drawing an angle bisector. So now once you've drawn these arcs, what you do is you connect the center of E to the intersection of the arcs over here. And this region and this line helps us in identifying the distinction between zone 1 and zone 2. So now this would be your zone 1. This would be your zone 2. So they wanted to shade zone 1. So what you would do is you would just shade all of this part. That's how you solve that. Then since the field is used for a concert, the ticket for the concert costs $30.75 each. Work out the cost of 8 tickets. So the cost of 8 tickets, we multiply 30.75 by 8. So 30.75 times 8. 5 times 8 is 40, so write 4. Write the 0, carry the 4. 7 8s are 56 plus 4, that's 60. So 0, carry the 6. The decimal comes down as it is. 8 times 0 is 0 plus 6 is 6, and 8 times 3 is 24. So as you can see, the total cost of 8 tickets is going to be question 11 says factorize 4m square minus 14m. So whenever they're asking us to factorize a quadratic equation, what we first do is we look at whether there's a highest common factor present in the expression. Over here, we can see that both 4 and 14 are even numbers, which means they come in the same times table and they have an m attached. So what we can do is we can split the 4 into 2 times 2, and m squared is m times m. 14m is 7 times 2 times m. So now if you notice, we have an m common between 4m squared and 14m, and we have a 2 common. So whatever is common, that comes outside, so 2m, and whatever remains will be inside the brackets. That's going to be 2m minus 7. So that's your factorization of this expression. Then says here's a list of numbers. Write down the number in the list that is irrational. So irrational numbers are numbers that cannot be expressed as a fraction. 1 over 3 is already as a fraction, so that's not irrational. Root 4 is equal to 2. 2 to the power of 0 is equal to 1. Remember, anything with the power of 0 is always equal to 1. Root 5 would be irrational because it's not a square number. 10 over 8 is 2. And 2 to the power of negative 1 is basically 1 over 2. So that clearly shows that root 5 is our irrational. Question 13 says evaluate 5 times 10 to the power of 7 minus 8 times 10 to the power of 6, giving your answer in standard form. So for these types of questions, we're going to use the same rule as we were doing for the factorization of the expression. We're going to find the highest common factor over here. So for the highest common factor, we can see that both 5 times 10 to the power of 7 and 8 times 10 to the power of 6 have 10 to the power of 6 common. So we take 10 to the power of 6 common over here. And for 5 times 10 to the power of 7, we're left with 5 times 10. And for 8, we're just left with minus 8. So 5 times 10 is 50. Then we do 50 minus 8, which is 42. So we have 42 times 10 to the power of 6. Now, a lot of people make this mistake thinking that this is the standard form just because we're multiplying it by 10 to the power of something. It's not. In standard form, the number that's being multiplied to 10 to the power of something, that number has to be more than 1, but less than 10. So over here, 42 is more than 10. So we need to convert 42 into 4.2. And when we do that, that means we're adding another decimal place to this. So 42 times 10 to the power of 6 in standard form is going to be 4.2 times 10 to the power of 7. Why? Because we know that every whole number has a decimal at its end. 42.0 is the same as 42. So in standard form, the number has to be less than 10. It can't be greater than 10. So to turn 42 into a number that's less than 10, that's going to be 4.2. And since we're moving the decimal one place to the left-hand side, that means we have to add 1 to the power as well, because we're changing the decimal place. Hence, 42 times 10 to the power of 6 in standard form is 4.2 times 10 to the power of 7. Let's say we're moving the decimal towards the right-hand side. Like, for example, instead of 42, we had 0.42. Now, 0.42 times 10 to the power of 6 is also not standard form because the number, as I said, has to be greater than 1. Because number, like I said, has to be greater than 0, but less than 10. So in this case, you would move the decimal over here. So now you would subtract 1 from the power. So that's going to be 4.2 times 10 to the power of 5. So when writing the number in standard form, you have to be very careful in which direction do we move the decimal. If we're moving the decimal towards the left-hand side, that means we're adding 1 to the power. But if we're moving towards the right-hand side, we're subtracting 1 from the power, or like whatever the number of places we're moving it. Then says the lowest common multiple of 120 and 126 is 2520. Write 2520 as a product of its prime factors. So we know 120 equals to 2 cubed times 3 times 5, and 126 is 2 times 3 squared times 7. So when talking about the lowest common multiple, they already said that's 2520. So we just have to rewrite this as a product of its prime factors. So the difference between LCM and HCF is that in HCF, we pick like, the lowest common powers for the bases in the two numbers that are given. Like, for example, for this one, HCF would be 2 times 3, that's it, 6. That would be a HCF because these are the two things that are common between 120 and 126. But for LCM, we pick the highest powers from both the cases. So for 2, highest power is 2 cubed. So 2 cubed. For 3, the highest power is 3 squared. And then 5 and 7 come as it is. So for LCM, you pick the highest numbers, but for HCF, you pick the lowest ones. So that's going to be your answer because they want the answer as a product of its prime factors. So this is it. You can even like split the 2 cube into 2 times 2 times 2 and the 3 squared into 3 times 3. Either way, your answer would be correct. Then it says each interior angle of a regular polygon is 160 degrees. Find the number of sides of the polygon. So for each interior angle, there's a formula. That's going to be n minus 2 times 180 over n. N is your number of sides. So you have to memorize this formula. So it's a regular polygon and they've given us the interior angle. What they want us to do is find the number of sides. So 160 equals to n minus 2 times 180 over n, cross multiply. So 160n equals to n minus 2 times 180. We expand the bracket. So that's going to be 180n minus 360. Then we collect the like terms on each side. So 160n minus 180n equals to negative 360. That's going to be negative 20n. Then we divide negative 360 by negative 20. When you're dividing two negative numbers, the answer is positive. Cancel the zeros out. 36 divided by 2 is 18. So the polygon has 18 sides. So very simple. All you need to remember is your interior angle formula, and then it's just algebra. You get rid of the fraction, cross multiply, expand the brackets, collect the items on each side, and then you have your answer. And other thing, if they're asking you to find the sum of interior angles, then you don't divide n minus 2 times 180 by n. Sum of interior angles would be n minus 2 times 180. That's it. And sum of exterior angles is always going to be 360 degrees. And each exterior angle would be 360 divided by n. So these are the four main formulas that you need to remember when you're dealing with regular polygons and their angles. And for question 16, it says draw the image of shape A after translation by vector 3, -5. So after translation by vector 3, -5, that means you're going to move the shape 3 units to the right and 5 units down. So 3 units to the right and 5 units down. So for point 2, 3 units to the right and 5 units down is going to be 5. So the point 3 units to the right and 5 units down is going to give us 5, -3. Then for point 3, 3 units to the right and again 5 down is going to be 5, -2. Then for the point -2 and 2, that's going to be 1, -3. This one would be 2 above it, but that's going to be this and this. So as you can see, the shape remains exactly the same. Like, the size of the shape is not changing. The direction of the shape is not changing. It's still in the same direction. What's changing is that it's moved either up or down, left or right, depending on what the translation vector is. Part B is described for the single transformation that maps shape A onto shape B. Now, for shape A onto shape B, we can clearly see that it's a rotation because the direction of the shape has changed. It's not even a reflection because they're not like, in the same alignment. It's not a translation because, like I said, the direction of the shape does not change in translation. And it's not an enlargement because the size hasn't changed either. So since we're going from shape A to shape B, we're going in the clockwise direction. And it's a 90-degree clockwise rotation. So that's one thing that we've established. Next thing we need to establish is what the center of rotation is. For the center of rotation, I think it's going to be x equals to 4 and y equals to 1. Why? Because if we pick the same point on shape A and shape B, we can see that for shape A, this point is horizontally 2 units from the center and 1 unit vertically. So horizontal 2, vertically 1. Whereas for the same point on shape B, it's 1 horizontal and 2 vertical. So whenever you're rotating a shape 90 degrees, be it clockwise or anti-clockwise, what happens is that your horizontal and vertical distances swap for the same point. So exact same thing happened over here. For the orange point that I've marked, the horizontal distance was 2, but now on the image, the vertical distance is 2. Whereas the vertical distance was 1 for the original, now the horizontal distance is 1 for the rotated image. So these are tiny little things that you need to notice when you're deciding what your center of rotation is. And you just based on the alignment of your shapes, where they're placed, you just pick 2, 3 different points and say for which point the horizontal and vertical distance swap for the same points on the original and the rotated image. So it's going to be 90 degrees clockwise rotation about the center for 1. In question 17, it says the diagram shows a shaded triangle ABC drawn on a 1 centimeter square grid. The equation of the line AC is y equals to negative 3 over 2x plus 1. The shaded region inside triangle ABC is defined by 3 inequalities. One of these inequalities y greater than equal to negative 3 over 2x plus 1. So they've already given us the equation for this line. Which is y equals to negative 3 over 2x plus 1. How do we know this is the equation for this line? Because if you notice, this line has a negative slope, while the other line has a positive slope. And this one is passing through x equals to 4. And for this, we need to find the equation. So for the first one, the pink one, that's x equals to 4, the equation. Now, if you look at the shaded region includes values of x that are decreasing, going towards the left-hand side. So that means x is less than equal to 4. And then for the green line, we need the slope and the y-intercept. For the slope, we need rise over run. You pick 2 points, this point and let's say this point over here. So the run is 3 units and the rise is also 3 units. So that's 3 over 3 and that's equal to 1. So y equals to x plus, and the y-intercept is y equals to 1, so y equals to x plus 1. If you remember, the slope-intercept form is y equals to mx plus c. So the coefficient of x is always your slope, and the constant value that's being added to it, that's the y-intercept. Hence, 1 is our y-intercept and 1 is our slope as well. So these are the equations. And then for this, your inequality would be, if you notice that we're looking at the shaded region where values of y are decreasing. Hence, y would be less than equal to x plus 1. So these are the 3 inequalities. Let's just work out the area of the triangle ABC. So for the area of the triangle ABC, we need the base and the height of the triangle. So this is your height of the triangle, and this is your base of the triangle. So the height is 4 units, and the base is 10 units. So for this, you need to remember your formula for the area of a triangle as well, which is basically 1 over 2 times base times height, which would be 1 over 2 times 10 times 4, which is 20 centimeters square. That is the area of the triangle ABC. Question 18 says, Lynn reports the masses in grams of 60 onions. The cumulative frequency diagram shows the results. Use the diagram to find an estimate for the interquartile range. So for the interquartile range, you need your lower quartile and upper quartile. Lower quartile is basically 1/4 of the total frequency. So 60 divided by 4, which is going to give us 15. So we need to find the 15th value for the lower quartile. And for the upper quartile, we need to find 3/4 of 60. So that's going to give us 45. So we need to find the 45th value for the upper quartile. So we'll go at 15 on the y-axis. So 15 is going to be 1, 2, 3, 5. draw a line towards the graph. Then do the same. We go at 45. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the 15th value is coming out to be 205. And the 45th value is coming out to be 300. So for the interquartile range, you find the difference of 300 and 205. So interquartile range is going to be upper quartile minus lower quartile, which is 300 minus 205. And that gives us a value of. Then it says an onion is large if its mass is at least n grams. 24 of the 60 onions are large. Find the value of n. First, we identify where 24 is going to be. First thing we need to understand, it says that 24 of the 60 onions are large. So that means the ones that are not large are going to be 60 minus 24, which gives us a value of 36. So what we'll do is we will find where 36 is on the y-axis. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll draw a line at 36. So these are the onions that are large. All of this region that shows us the large onions, like the ones that are, the 24 out of 61. The 24 out of the 60 onions which are large, they're shown by this region. Now, they want us to find the value of n. So, like the minimum weight, like at which they're considered as large onions. So that's going to be this value over here, which is going to be 160. So value of n is 260. Previously, you must have noticed that in different papers, they give you the value of n actually, and they're asking you to find how many are more than a specific value, or let's say like they had given us that n equals to 260. So how many onions are more than 260 grams? So the method is still the same. We draw the line. In that case, you would see what the corresponding y value is. In this case, we're going to check what the corresponding x value is. Then says a diagram shows two mathematically similar mugs. The small mug has width W centimeters and holds 270 ml when full. The large mug has width 8 centimeters and holds 640 ml when full. Find the value of W. So in these cases, the rule that we follow is that length of shape A divided by length of shape B whole cube equals to volume of shape A divided by volume of shape B. Let's call this shape A. Let's call this shape B. If they were talking about the surface area, then what you would do is you would square the ratio of lengths and put that equal to the ratio of the areas. So over here, we do W over 8 whole cube equals to 270 over 640. Let's simplify 270 over 640. So that's going to be 0's get cancelled out. So we have 27 over 64. So next what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the cube root of both sides. So cube root of a cube is 1, because like I said before in this paper that when we're cubing a cube root, the powers get cancelled out. So that's going to give us W over 8. And we know that 27 is 3 cube and 64 is 4 cube. So when we cube root 3 cube and 4 cube, that also cancels out the powers. So we're left with W over 8 equals to 3 over 4. Now, we do W equals to 3 over 4 times 8. 4 ones are 4. 4 twos are 8, so W equals to 6 centimeters. That is your answer. And 20 says simplify 16a to the power of 20 whole power 3 or 4. So like we've discussed before, whenever we power outside the bracket and inside the bracket, we multiply the powers. Now in this case, we have 16a to the power of 20. It's not just like one thing. So we distribute the 3 or 4 power on both 16 and a to the power of 20. So it's going to be 16 to the power of 3 or 4 times a to the power of 20, again whole power 3 or 4. Now we need to break down 16 into a prime factor base. We know 16 is 4 times 4 and 4 is 2 squared times 2 squared. So like we said before, whenever we have similar bases being multiplied, we add the powers. So that's going to be 2 to the power of 4. So 2 to the power of 4 replaces 16. And now we have a whole power of 3 or 4 outside. And over here we have 8 to the power of 20 and then whole power 3 or 4. So now since we have a power inside the bracket and outside the bracket, what we do is we multiply the powers. So 2 to the power of 4 times 3 or 4 times a to the power of 20 times 3 or 4. That's going to be 2 to the power of 3 times a to the power of 15. Because 20 divided by 4 is 5 and 5 times 3 is 15. So that's going to be 8 times a to the power of 15. That's your answer. Then it says expand and simplify. So whenever we have double brackets being multiplied, we will multiply the first term with both the terms inside the bracket, and then the second term in the first bracket, both the terms inside the second bracket. So that's 2c times 4c minus 3d plus 9d times 4c minus 3d. 2c times 4c is 8c squared. 2c times negative 3d is negative 6cd. 2c times negative 3d is going to be negative 6cd. 90 times 4c is 36cd. And 90 times negative 3d is going to be negative 27d squared. Combine the like terms. 8c squared comes as it is. Negative 6cd plus 36cd is going to be plus 30cd. And negative 27d squared also comes as it is. So this is your expanded and simplified expression. So this is your expanded and simplified expression. Question 21 says the inverse of matrix A is given by 1 over 20 times m, 7, negative 1k. M and k are positive integers where m is less than k. The determinants of matrix A is 20. Find A. So in this question, basically what they're asking us to do is they're asking us to go backwards. Like when you're trying to find an inverse, first you find the transpose, then we find the determinant, and then we use that to find the inverse of matrix. But now it's an inverse operation. Determinant is already given. And using the transpose, we go back to the original matrix. So when we try to find the transpose from an original matrix, what we do is we swap these two values, and then we make these two values negative. So over here, when we swap these two originally, then it's going to be k and m. And now when we make these two negative, that means this was originally positive and this was originally negative. Now, determinant is found by cross multiplying the numbers and then finding their difference. So 20 equals to k times m minus negative 7 times 1. So that's 20 equals to km plus 7. 20 minus 7 equals to km, and 13 is km. Now we know 13 is a prime number, so that means the factors of 13 are only 13 and 1. So this is what K and M are going to be. But they've given us a condition that M is less than K. So if M is less than K, that means K is going to be 13 and M is going to be 1. So that's 13, -7, 1, and 1. This is your original matrix A. Question 22 says the function f of x is given as 3x minus 1 over 2 and g of x is given as 5 to the power of x. Find f of -7. So we just put -7 in the function. So replace x with -7. 3 times -7 is -21. -21 minus 1 is -22. So -22 over 2 is -11. That's your answer. Then it's asking us to find the inverse of f of x. So for that, first replace f of x with y. So y equals to 3x minus 1 over 2. Then cross multiply. 2y equals to 3x minus 1. Now our goal is to make x the subject of this equation. So it would be 2y plus 1 equals to 3x, and x would equal to 2y plus 1 over 3. Last step is to replace x by f inverse x and y with x. So this is our inverse function. If you notice, in the original function, 3 was multiplying, now it's dividing. 1 was being subtracted, now it's being added. 2 was being divided, now it's being multiplied. So as the word inverse says that we're doing the opposite thing. So whatever's happening originally in the inverse, it does the exact opposite. Then it says C equals to f of 9 over, then C says f of 9 over 25 is equal to g of x. Find x. So f of 9 over 25 is going to be 3 times 9 over 25 minus 1. And then the entire thing is divided by 2. So that's 27 over 25 minus 1 divided by 2. 27 minus 25 over 25 is divided by 2. And that's going to be 2 over 25. Now divided by 2 can be rewritten as times 1 over 2. So that's going to be 1 over 25. Now 1 over 25 is equal to g of x. G of x is 5 to the power of x. Now we can easily convert 25 into a base of 5 because 25 is 5 square. Bring the 5 square in the numerator, so 5 to the power of -2 equals to 5 to the power of x. Whenever we have similar bases on both sides, we can put the powers equal to each other. Hence, x equals to -2. That is your answer. Question 23 says a theater offers a singing lesson, a dancing lesson, and acting lesson. A group of 40 people are asked which lessons they take part in. Some of the results are shown in the Venn diagram. All 40 people take part in at least one lesson. So that means there's no one that's going to be outside. Then 3 people take part in a singing lesson and an acting lesson, but not a dancing lesson. So singing and acting, but not dancing. So 3 is going to come over here because this is where we're intersecting singing and acting. Then it says 7 people take part in a dancing lesson only. So that means 7 is going to come over here because only this region shows the people who are just dancing. It's not overlapping with singing or acting. Then it says 19 people take part in a singing lesson. So what they mean by that is all the numbers added up in this would equal to 19. And then 4 times as many people take part in a singing lesson only as those who take part in all 3 lessons. So which means all 3 lessons, if that's X, then people who just take part in singing are going to be 4X. So now we know that all of the people who are taking part in singing, and that includes those who are taking dancing and acting as well, that's 19. So 19 equals to 4X plus X plus 3 plus 6. That's going to be 5X plus 9. Take 9 to the other side. So 19 minus 9 equals to 5X. That's 10. 10 divided by 5 is X, and that's going to be 2. So that means this is going to be 8. This is going to be 2. And we have 40 people in total, so we need to find this part. So 40 equals to 8 plus 6 plus 3 plus 2 plus 7 plus 10 plus y. This is y. So that's going to be 8 plus 6 is 14. 3 plus 2 is 5. 5 plus 7 is 12 plus 10, 22. 22 plus 14 is going to be 36. So 40 minus 36 equals to y, and that is 4. So these people were taking dancing and acting. So that's your answer. Then it says use set notation to describe the subset with 10 people. So the subset with 10 people basically means those people who are just taking acting. So we can say that it's basically A intersection S complement intersection D complement. Or another thing we can say that it's A intersection S union D complement. Both are going to be correct. Because if you notice, we're removing the entire singing, we're removing the entire dancing. So dancing, union, singing, complement, that's everything that's outside dancing and singing, but it's intersecting with A. So that's going to be the stem. Then it says P is the point -1, 4, and Q is the point -3, -2. Find the coordinates of the midpoint of the line PQ. So for the midpoint of the line PQ, there's a formula that we use, which is you add both x values, so -1 plus -3 divided by 2, and do the same for y, 4 plus -2 over 2. Now remember, coordinates are ordered pairs. So you always write x first and then y. So -1 minus 3 is -4. -4 over 2 is -2. 4 minus 2 is 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So -2, 1 are your coordinates. Then says find the equation of a line perpendicular to PQ which passes through the point P. So first we need to find the gradient of the line PQ. So that's going to be y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. This is the gradient formula. So -2 minus 4 over -3 minus -1. y1, x1 is one coordinate. x2, y2 is another coordinate. So you can just assign them to either of the points and then subtract them accordingly. That's -6 over -2, which is equal to +3. Now, in perpendicular lines, what we do is we multiply both the gradients, and that always equals to -1. That is the condition for perpendicular lines. So if you already have the gradient of one line, that's 3. So 3 times m2 equals to -1. That means for the gradient of the other line, we do -1/3. And that's your gradient. They want the equation of the line perpendicular to PQ. So for the line perpendicular to PQ, we have the gradient for that. That's -1/3. And they're saying that passes through point P. So point P is also given in the question. So now we use point slope form to find the equation of the line. Point slope form is used when you have a point and a slope, which is exactly what we had. So y minus y1 equals to m times x minus x1. y1 is 4, so y minus 4 equals to m is -1/3, x minus -1. x1 is -1. So cross multiply, 3 times y minus 4 equals to -1 times x plus 1. That's 3y minus 12 equals to -x minus 1. 3y equals to -x minus 1 plus 12. And that is going to give us 3y equals to -x plus 11. That is your final equation of the line perpendicular to point P, perpendicular to PQ. You can also rewrite this in slope-intercept form, which would be y equals to -x/3 plus 11/3. 5 says the table shows the times each of 110 students take to travel to school one day. So we have a row for the time intervals and we have a row for the frequency. They want us to complete the histogram to show this information. So to complete the histogram, we need the frequency density. Now frequency density equals to frequency over class width. So for the first interval, they've already made the bar. So for the second one, the frequency is going to be 25 divided by the class interval, which is 10 minus 5. 5, so that's 5. Then for the next frequency density, that's going to be 35 divided by 10, which is 3.5. And next is 20 divided by 20, which is equal to 1. Now that we have all of the frequency densities, we can just plot these on the grid and complete our histogram. So for 5 to 10, it's 5. So we draw a bar that's 5 centimeters. So we draw a bar that's 5 boxes long. So that's the height for it. Then 3.5. So that was from 10 to 20. So let's mark 3.5 first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then after that, it's going to be 1 meter. And then lastly, the frequency density is 1. So this is for 20 to 4. So that is your histogram. Then question 26 is in the diagram OA equals to A, vector OB is to B, and AB is to BC is 1 is to 3. OBD is a straight line. Express AB in terms of A and B. So AB is going to be OB minus OA. OB is 2B minus OA, which is A. So 2B minus A is our vector AB. Then it says show that OC equals to 8B minus 3A. So for OC, first I'm going to find AC because the path I'm going to follow is that OA plus AC, that's going to give us OC. So AC is AB plus BC. AB was 2B minus A. So AB is to BC is 1 is to 3. So BC is going to be thrice of AB. So that's 3 times 2B minus A, which is 6B minus 3A. So AC is 2B minus A plus 6B minus 3A, which is going to be 8B minus 4A. That is AC. AC is 8B minus 4A. OA is A. So OC is going to be OA plus AC. So that's A plus 8B minus 4A. That's 8B minus 3A, which is exactly what they wanted us to show. Part C, it says AD equals to K times OC, find the value of K. Now, if you notice, OD lies on OB. So if you notice, OB lies on OD, which means OD is some multiple times OB. And we also know that OC is 8B minus 3A. And we also know that OC is 8B minus 3A. And the question says AD equals to K times OC. So now if we scroll down, AD equals to K times OC. AD is going to be OD minus OA. OD is M times OB and OA is A. Now OB was 2B, so M times 2B minus A is AD, which means M times 2B minus A equals to K times 8B minus 3A. So now what we'll do is we'll put the coefficients of A equal to each other and the coefficients of B equal to each other. So that means A would equal to, so that means for A it's going to be -1 equals to -3K, where -1 over -3 equals to K, and that is 1 over 3. So as you can see, K would equal to 1 over 3, and that's your answer.